Everyone in the mansion believed the richest man in the city was fast asleep, but what none of them knew was that this moment would expose the purest heart he had ever encountered. A simple child, a silent test, and a choice that money could never buy. This story will change the way you see kindness forever, so before it unfolds, make sure you subscribe to the channel, because stories like this remind us why humanity still matters. The mansion stood on the edge of the city like a monument to success, its iron gates taller than most houses in the neighborhood nearby. Inside lived Victor Harrington, a self-made billionaire whose name was known in boardrooms, news articles, and whispered conversations. People admired his wealth, feared his temper, and envied his power, but very few truly knew him. Victor believed the world was simple at its core. People wanted money, comfort, and opportunity, and if given the chance, they would always choose themselves first. That belief had guided him all his life, hardened by betrayals, fake smiles, and business partners who vanished the moment the deals went bad. By the time he crossed 50, Victor trusted no one, not his advisors, not his distant relatives, and certainly not the staff who worked in his home. To him, loyalty was bought, never earned. Among the many employees in the mansion was a quiet maid named Rosa. She had worked there for 5 years, cleaning floors, changing sheets, and keeping her head down. Rosa was widowed, raising her 10-year-old daughter, Lily, alone. Lily often waited for her mother in the staff quarters after school, sitting with her books and sketches, careful not to disturb anyone. Victor had seen the child around but paid little attention. Children, like adults, he believed, were shaped by their desires, and poverty only sharpened selfishness, or at least that is what he thought. One evening, Victor returned from a disastrous board meeting where a trusted executive had been exposed for embezzlement. The betrayal cut deeper than the financial loss. As he sat in his study, staring at the city lights through the tall windows, a familiar anger rose inside him. He wondered, once again, whether goodness actually existed when no one was watching. It was then that an idea formed, dark and curious at the same time. He would conduct a test. Not a business test, but a human one. That night, Victor instructed his staff that he was feeling unwell and would rest early. He asked Rosa to bring him some tea before leaving. When Rosa arrived with the tray, Victor lay still in his bed, his breathing slow and steady, his eyes closed. Rosa placed the tea on the nightstand quietly, whispered a polite good night, and turned to leave. But just as she reached the door, Victor let out a low groan and knocked the tray to the floor. The cup shattered, tea spilling across the carpet. Rosa rushed back in, alarmed. Victor remained motionless, pretending to be asleep, his face relaxed, his body heavy. Rosa hesitated, worried. She cleaned the mess quickly, tucked the blanket around him, and whispered again that she would check on him later. Still, Victor did not move. As Rosa left, Lily, who had been waiting outside the room, peeked inside. She saw the broken cup, the damp carpet, and the man lying so still on the bed. Something about it made her uneasy. She tugged on her mother's sleeve and asked if the man was okay. Rosa reassured her that he was just sleeping and guided her away, but Lily kept looking back. Later that night, when the mansion grew quiet and most lights were off, Victor heard soft footsteps approaching his room. He kept his eyes closed, controlling his breathing. The door creaked open slowly. Someone stepped inside. It wasn't Rosa. The steps were lighter, hesitant. Victor sensed a presence beside the bed, and then he felt a small hand gently touch his arm. Lily stood there, her heart pounding. She had sneaked away after her mother fell asleep in the staff quarters. She couldn't shake the feeling that something was wrong. The man in the big bed looked pale. His breathing, though steady, seemed heavy to her. Lily remembered stories her mother told her about her father, about how sometimes people needed help even when they didn't ask for it. Lily whispered softly, asking if he was okay. There was no response. She leaned closer, her ear near his chest, listening. She had no idea what a billionaire was, no sense of status or power. To her, he was just a man lying alone in a large, quiet room. She noticed the spilled tea stain, still dark on the carpet, and thought of how her mother always worried about doing things right. Lily climbed onto the edge of the bed carefully, afraid of getting in trouble. She pulled the blanket up a little higher around Victor's shoulders and noticed that his room felt cold. She walked to the thermostat, guessing at what the buttons did, and raised the temperature slightly. Then she returned and sat quietly beside him. Victor's mind raced. He never expected the child. This wasn't part of the plan. The test was supposed to reveal greed or curiosity, maybe theft or fear. Instead, he felt warmth as the blanket settled around him, and a strange tightness formed in his chest. Lily noticed Victor's glass of water was almost empty. She stepped down and filled it from the bathroom sink, carrying it carefully with both hands so it wouldn't spill. She placed it back on the table, then stood there unsure what else to do. Finally, she whispered that she hoped he felt better soon. Before leaving, she did something Victor would never forget. She reached into her pocket and placed something small on the nightstand. It was a folded dollar bill, creased and soft from being handled many times. Lily's emergency money, given to her by her mother in case she ever got lost. She looked at the man once more, nodded to herself, and quietly left the room. The door closed. Victor opened his eyes. He stared at the ceiling for a long time, breathing differently now, not pretending. His gaze finally shifted to the nightstand, where the dollar bill sat beside the glass of water. For the first time in years, Victor felt something crack inside him. Not pain, but realization. This child had nothing, yet she had offered comfort, warmth, and even the little security she possessed, without expecting anything in return. The next morning, Victor called Rosa into his office. She was terrified, thinking perhaps Lily had been seen wandering the halls. Victor asked calmly if her daughter had gone to his room the night before. Rosa's face drained of color. She immediately apologized, her voice shaking, explaining that Lily must have been worried and that she would accept any punishment. Victor raised his hand to stop her. He asked Rosa to bring Lily in. Lily entered nervously, holding her mother's hand. Victor knelt in front of her, bringing himself to eye level. He asked her why she came to his room. Lily answered honestly. She said she thought he might be sick and alone, and her mom always told her that if someone needed help, you shouldn't ignore them. She explained the dollar bill and said she could earn another one someday, but a person's life mattered more. There was silence in the room. Victor stood up slowly, turned to the window and collected himself. Then he did something no one in the mansion had ever seen. He apologized. He told Rosa and Lily the truth, that he had pretended to sleep to see who people really were when they thought no one was watching. He admitted it was a cruel test, born out of bitterness. Victor made a decision that morning that would ripple far beyond the mansion. He arranged for Lily to attend the best school in the city on a full scholarship. He offered Rosa a new position with better pay and hours that allowed her to be present for her daughter. But more importantly, Victor started something new. He created a foundation, quietly at first, dedicated to supporting children of working families, inspired by a girl who showed him that wealth had nothing to do with character. Years later, Victor would often tell this story, not to boast, but to remind himself and others that kindness doesn't announce itself. It happens quietly, in moments where no reward is promised and no audience is watching. The girl he tested ended up testing him far more deeply, forcing him to confront the walls he built around his own heart. Lily grew up knowing that her simple choice changed a man's life. She never saw herself as a hero, because to her it was just the right thing to do. And Victor Harrington, the man who once believed everyone had a price, learned that some people, even children, possess something far more valuable than money. As you reflect on this story, remember that the smallest actions can leave the deepest impact. Let me know in the comments from which part of the country you are watching this video, because stories like this connect us all, no matter where we come from.